County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation. Acting Administrator, when you are prepared, please proceed.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day that you've given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. We are ever mindful of the opportunities to render our services to our citizens in this community. We pray for strength and guidance as we conduct our business today. Amen.
Please stand for the pledge. Thank you. Excuse me. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Here.
Next is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion related to approval of this evening's agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda as published. Are there any discussion, any changes, additions, or any other changes to our agenda this evening?
Not for me.
Very well. With that, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
That brings us to meeting schedule. Acting Administrator.
Yes, Commissioners, our next commission meeting work session will be held next Wednesday in this room at 3 p.m.
Very good. Honorary resolutions, there are none on tonight's agenda. There are no discussion items, nor are there any public hearings. That brings us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion related to this evening's consent agenda?
Commissioner, I move that we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Motion has been made to approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
That brings us to our regular agenda for this evening. Our first item is 2022-116. Administrator?
Commissioners, 2022-116 is a request from James and Kayla Phillips for either approval or denial for waiver of some fees, interests, and penalties for their taxes. And we do have our County Collector, Barbara O'Reilly, that can address any questions you may have on behalf of this request.
Thank you. Would you like to open the statement, or?
No, unless you have some other questions, it's like it was last week. They did not inform the assessor or us as to address change, so there was no new place to send the billing.
Could you go ahead and identify yourself for the audio recordings?
I beg your pardon?
Go ahead and identify yourself for the audio recordings.
My name is Barbara O'Reilly with the Collector's Office.
Thank you.
And like I said, as we said last week, they did not inform the assessment department, and consequently, we couldn't bill any new address or anything but the one that they had on record.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission? Very well, thank you. Is there anyone else who would care to speak on tonight's on this subject? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2022-116? And I would remind commissioners, because I need to be reminded, that any motion would include checking the boxes, a box indicated on the warrant or the resolution itself. So, are there any? If there is no further discussion, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to move forward with check marking the box to deny for the request for waiver and fees.
Thank you. Motion has been made to approve 2022-116 with the box indicating denied on the document. Further discussion? Very well. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Thank you. That brings us to 2022-114. Administrator?
Yes, Commissioners, 2022-123 is approval of a sole source vendor to a vendor Sunbelt Computer Software. This is a request from our judicial IT department This would benefit the prosecuting attorney and the public administrator's department. The amount is $10,400 for this request.
Very well. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this issue? Seeing none, discussion on the commission?
No discussion, thanks.
In that case, is there a motion related to 2022-123?
I move that we approve 2022-114.
Oh,
No, excuse me, 123. 123. I
Okay.
apologize.
no, that's okay. When you said it, I was also looking at the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
the consent agenda. Motion's been made for the approval of 2022-123. Any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
That brings us to issue 2022-122. Administrator?
2022-122 is a transfer within a fund, utilizing our American Rescue Plan funds. The total amount for this fund to be transferred is $2,950,000. And this is a request from our auditor, and our auditor, Victor Hurlbert, is here to speak.
Please proceed.
Yes, good evening, Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Resolution 2022-122, before you use the transfer within a fund, as the Deputy Administrator indicated. This is going to get us to, per the discussion with the Administrator on March 23rd, get us to that amount in the infrastructure account of $5.4 million, and that's be able to accommodate those requests we have from our municipalities. So essentially what we're doing is we're transferring dollars, remaining unencumbered dollars from our COVID response account to that infrastructure account, as well as the economic recovery account, as we have previously discussed. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the auditor?
No questions, thanks.
Very good. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this subject? Seeing none, is there any further discussion from the commission? In that case, I would entertain a motion related to 2022-122.
I'll make a motion to approve 2022-122.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2022-122. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
That brings us to issue 2022-125.
2022-125, and Commissioners, the next several following this, as we read them off, are all related to American Rescue Plan dollars. This 125 is a request from North Kansas City Hospital for a portion of our funds in $2,500,000. This was discussed last week, and again, we have Auditor Victor Hurlbert here to discuss.
Mr. Auditor?
Yes, Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. So Resolution 2022-125, as we discussed last week, is a recommendation for an obligation encumbrance in North Kansas City Hospital in the amount of $2.5 million from our American Rescue Plan Act. This comes per the final rule under that COVID response eligibility rule. The nature of the items that we would be reimbursing for the hospital, just as a quick reminder, deals with really those testing equipment items, as well as pharmaceuticals that they use to treat COVID patients during the time of the pandemic. So that's just a reminder there. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't think we have any visitors from the hospital here tonight.
And as you indicated, these funds are being distributed in compliance with federal law related to the ARPA funds.
Yes, from the final rule, the first two categories, enumerated eligible expenses, are really what we're doing here. So, I mean, it's specifically for public hospitals such as North Kansas City.
Are there any questions for the auditor?
No questions, thank you.
No questions, no.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this subject this evening? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2022-125?
I move that we approve 2022-125.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2022-125. Further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
That brings us to item too many twos on these things. 2022-126.
2022-126 is also utilizing ARPA funds. This request is from the Liberty Hospital. It is also, this one is $2,250,000. This relates to some capital expenditures and drive-through testing. We also have County Auditor Victor Hurlbert here to speak.
Please proceed.
Yes, Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Resolution 2022-126 is also a rescue plan obligation encumbrance, this time to Liberty Hospital, as Deputy Administrator said, in the amount of $2.25 million. This one is forward-looking. It's not reimbursement of previous expenditures, just as a reminder, but it is capital related to be able to deal with COVID and enhance that public emergency health response. So it is, again, in that eligible category. So happy to answer any questions. I don't think we see Liberty Hospital here tonight.
Are there any questions of the auditor?
No questions, thank you.
No questions.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this issue this evening? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2022-126?
I'll make a motion to approve 2022-126.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2022-126. Further discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
That brings us to 2022-127. Administrator?
2022-127 is also ARPA fund request from Excelsior Springs Hospital for $1.5 million. This involves requests for reimbursements for air handler units and which was helped to mitigate the spread of COVID. And again, we have Victor Hurlbert here to speak.
Please proceed.
Yes, Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Resolution 2022-127 is similar to those previous two we've had, this time for Excelsior Springs Hospital American Rescue Plan Act request. Staff recommends approving obligation encumbrance up to $1.5 million. And what this is reimbursement for installation of a new air handling unit that the hospital installed to better deal with and mitigate the spread of COVID in their hospital. So that's just a reminder there. Unless you have any questions for me, we do have members of the hospital here tonight, the CEO, Kristen Hart, if she want to give us any comment. So.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the auditor?
No questions, thank you.
No questions.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the issue this evening? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for 2022-127.
I move that we approve 2022-127.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2022-127. Discussion? You're recognized to close.
Thank you. I just want to say, to the folks from Excelsior Springs, these are sizable investments that we're making today to each of our hospitals in our Clay County community. And I just, like we discussed last week, I'm very grateful for all the work that our healthcare professionals here have done. And although these are big amounts of money, I think well worth it in terms of all of the hard work that and cost that went into the COVID response, and that will likely be ongoing, at least in some capacity, going forward. So with each of these, and I know we'll do Northland Healthcare Access here in a minute, and the Health Department, and Life Unlimited, and so many other folks who are in the broader healthcare arena, I just think that that these dollars will be put to good use, number one, and that hopefully the residents here of Clay County can be proud that that we're making these investments today. And I close.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
That brings us to item 2022-128. Administrator?
2022-128 is also utilizing ARPA funds, and this comes as a request from our Clay County Public Health Center. The amount is $1 million and is for reimbursement of equipment, payroll, and other services. Again, we have County Auditor Victor Hurlbert here to speak on the issue.
Please proceed.
Yes, Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Resolution 2022-128 is a rescue plan seeking approval of the obligation up to $1 million, not to exceed that, for the Clay County Public Health Center. This is for their 2022 budgeted costs, and so they would seek reimbursement after reporting to my office for those eligible expenditures under the final rule, as the Deputy Administrator mentioned. And it is, again, in our COVID response account line, because we are dealing with all those public health requests. So that's really all I have. And we do have representatives here tonight from the Health Center, Director Zabrak and CFO Menken. So You don't have any comment?
Are there any questions of the auditor?
No questions, thank you.
Very well. Is there anyone else wishing to speak this evening on this issue? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2022-128?
I'll make a motion to approve 2022-128.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2022-128. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
That brings us to 2022-129. Administrator?
2022-129 is also utilizing ARPA funds. It comes from Encumbrance to Life Unlimited. The amount requested is $210,000. This is for reimbursement of technology equipment. And again, we have County Auditor Victor Hurlbert here at the podium.
Please proceed.
Yes, Victor Hilbert, Resolution 2022-129 is our final public health rescue plan request and to dealing with our first tranche of the rescue plan, and this is an obligation up to $210,000. And as Deputy Administrator said, it's essentially for remote supports for this nonprofit that deals with individuals with disabilities to be able to use less staff to provide those services and do so in a socially distanced and safer manner dealing with the pandemic and health concerns. So that's really it. I don't see any representatives here this evening, but happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of the auditor?
No questions.
No
thank you.
questions, thanks.
I just want to say that we are taking one of the reasons we're doing all of these at one time, that is to say the medical related ones, there's a practical reason for it. It is a way for us to allocate these monies in that category, and I think that is organizationally a positive thing to do. But I think one of the other features of taking them all at once that appeals to me is that we are treating this as a team effort. I think when you look back at Operation SAFE and all the other initiatives put forth by our healthcare professionals in this county, they have been done not in a spirit of competition, but in cooperation. So it is, I think, a good thing that we are dispersing this money as a group to the group as a whole, as far as individually goes. But it I think just underscores the idea that this is a Northland team, that this is all these entities working together, and there is a place for every person on this team. And I think the fact that we have been able to get through this trying time as well as we have is a real tribute to the medical professionals that are in this room, and so many more who are all over this county and working hard every day to make sure that the loss of life and loss of health is kept at a minimum. And certainly I think that I would echo, obviously, Commissioner Carpenter's thoughts that while this is a lot of money, there is a lot of need. And this is not a small problem. And so we as a county, I think, are very happy to be able to participate in the way that we can, which is to make sure that this money goes into these various uses. So I just want to say the cooperation both outside with these entities, and also, for that matter, the hard work done within our government of our administrative staff and all the others, including obviously our auditor, have all been working together as a team. And I think that anything less than that would have been a disappointment. And I think this is a moment we can all be proud of Clay County and our response to this ongoing situation, which unfortunately we would be dealing with for some time. With that, is there any further discussion or comments?
No comments.
No discussion, thanks.
In that case, is there a motion related to 2022-129?
I move that we approve 2022-129.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2022-129. Further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
That brings us to 2022-124. Administrator?
2022-124 is a request from our airport. This is a request for the amount of $1,495 to purchase an aircraft operational information center so we can allow monitoring of aircraft. And we have our acting airport manager, Cheryl Walters, here to speak.
Please proceed.
Good evening, Cheryl Walters, Midwest National Air Center. And this is the annual subscription for the airport monitoring system that we bring to you today. With this, I'm hoping that we'll be able to to get more grants to show the use of the airport.
Thank you. And this is, of course, something we did delve in pretty deeply last week at our previous meeting. Do commissioners have any questions or comments?
No questions, thanks.
No questions, thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on 2022-124? Seeing none, is there a motion related to 2022-124?
I'll make a motion to approve 2022-124.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2022-124. Discussion, seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
That brings us to 2022-113. Administrator?
2022-113 is the request to approve an annual cooperative agreement with our Mid-America Regional Council for the 2022 membership dues. Our partnership with Mid-America Regional Council provides us a seat on the board for transportation, air quality, emergency services, waste management. The amount for this annual contract would be $57,487.
Thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to testify on this particular item? Seeing none, I just would like to note that it is valuable that we have those seats on the various boards and commissions with Mark. And I just got a communication that we will be, in fact, looking to observe Mark's 50th anniversary, I believe, coming up later this year. So certainly it's an organization that has proven to have value to the commission and to the county. I think this is a good piece of or a resolution that we should approve. So with that, further discussion?
No discussion, thanks.
No discussion.
Is there a motion related to 2022-113?
I move that we approve 2022-113.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2022-113. Discussion? You are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
And the final item on our regular agenda this evening is 2022-121. Administrator?
2022-121 is to approve a contract for professional services with Northland Healthcare Access. The amount for this request is $30,000, and this helps provide a network of healthcare providers through a partnership with Metro Cares that provides healthcare for uninsured residents.
Very well. Is there anyone wishing to speak on 2022-121?
Good evening. I'm Karen Dalton. I'm CEO of Northland Healthcare Access, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of about 3,000 uninsured residents in Clay County that we serve. Without this funding, we could not provide the services that we do, and I am very grateful for that, as they are, and as our board is. And also, not related to this, a big thank you, and every month at the Northland Regional Chamber, I give you, the Clay County Commission, credit for the way you've handled, and Victor, for the CARES Act, because we were one of the contractors for that CARES Act money, and we've been able to put lots of funding back into the owners of the properties and the landlords. So thank you very much.
Well, that's very kind of you. We appreciate your kind words, and certainly Auditor Hurlbert and staff deserve all that, a lot of the credit on that. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners?
No questions, thank you.
Just a brief comment, which is, thanks back to you for all the work you do, both helping uninsured folks here in Clay County, but also, like you said, the rental assistance program, being one of the partners to help administer those funds has been incredibly valuable. So thanks to you.
Very good. Is there a motion related to 2022-121?
I'll make a motion to approve 2022-121.
Motion been made for the approval of 2022-121. Discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. That brings us to comments on non-agenda items. Are there comments from anyone in the public on any non-agenda items, as items that do not appear on this evening's agenda? Seeing none, are there any office holder or agency comments on any non-agenda items? Seeing none. Administrator, do you have any comments you'd like to make at this time?
I have no comments tonight, thank you.
We come to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Thompson, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
I don't. I'm still full of allergies and antihistamines, so I'm going to keep it quiet so I don't sound too croaky. So, thank you.
Very well. Commissioner Carpenter?
No comments, thanks.
And I have no comments to add either. That brings us to approval of the minutes of previous sessions. I believe we have no minutes before us this evening. Are there any written reports to submit to the commission? No written reports to submit at this time. We have no executive sessions noticed up. That brings us to recess and adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.